Hi, it's Gadget UK again, back for the good, bad, the ugly Zorro 2 RAM boards. This one's obviously the bad. So in this video, cover two different cards: an older card, a Supra, which was quite a popular card, and a Z-RAM board from, I think it was Irix Lamps or something like that. And yeah, that is not as good. Well, it's bad. It's bad. Trust me, it's bad. It's worth pointing out that at the point when I reviewed this, it was quite new on the market. I interacted with the creator of the board and suggested that I could help test firmwares, but he didn't want to trust me with firmwares. So the bottom line is, I don't know if you buy one of those today, I don't know what you're going to get. As far as I'm concerned, it's bad. You can see what I've got here is an A2000 Supra RAM board, and it'll support 2, 4, 6 or 8 megabytes. Now this was sold fairly cheap on eBay. I bought this months ago actually. So you can see it's got a load of DIP type RAM installed here. Let's just have a quick look at those. Yeah, so Oki 511000. I think these are, is it 1 megabit in size or something like that? So I think you've got like
1 meg, 1 meg, 1 meg, 1 meg, 1 meg, 1 meg.
6 meg in total. Now I've tried the jumpers in different positions. You know, the whole idea with this is to try and see where I can use this. I was hoping to use it with the Terrible Fire TF534, and it doesn't appear to be working actually. So I've moved on to another board. This is a Rev 6.2 board that you've seen me repair in a previous video. I'm not going to cover absolutely everything because it'll just be a really super long video in terms of testing with all the different configurations and things, but I'll give you an update of where we're at. So I tested it with the 534, my 6.2 upgraded board. It's, you know, it's got all the factory mods and things applied to it, and whilst it seemed to detect it and stuff initially, then it started the yellow screen and it just wouldn't boot and stuff. I took it out, it was alright again, put it back in, it might detect it if I was lucky, but yeah, so there's some issues with the 534. So I moved on to this 6.2, stock 6.2 board, tested it with the standard CPU, you can see down there, Motorola, 8 MHz, 68K, and it works okay. Tested all 6 meg, no problems. Then I moved on to testing it with the A2630, and straight away, whilst it detected the whole 6 meg when these were in the 6 meg position. They're not at the moment, they're in the 4 meg position I think. So when it was configured as 6 meg, it was detecting that, it was adding it to the 2 meg that's on this card here, saying 8 meg, started to do the test, tested through the first 2 meg okay, and then it froze. And I repeated that a number of times, cleaned up the edge here, reseated it, tried different slots, same thing every time. So I started thinking, okay, maybe it's something to do with this Zorro issue that I'd heard about, where if you got 2 meg registered in the system, as you have here with this, the next thing that gets registered can't be 6 meg. You've only got 8 meg of Zorro space, so you think you'd be able to fit it within there. For whatever reason, you can't have 6 meg to fill that 6 meg hole. It's got to be just less, so 4 meg is the next chunk. So I set it to 4 meg here. So let's just plug that in. It's not that easy, the angle on that. Right, there we go. And it goes to without saying, you shouldn't be doing this stuff on carpet, and wear an ESD wrist strap when you're handling these things. So you can see there, fast 6 meg. 2 meg of that is from the A2630, and the 4 meg is obviously from the Supra, because that's configured in 4 meg mode. So if we test it now, what was happening before when it was getting to, I think, address 0000000, you know, all the zeros there, that's when it froze. And up here it said 8 meg. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because like I say, I've tested on the 68K and all 8 meg work. It's only now that I've got 2 meg on the A2630 that suddenly it's, it's, at some point there's an issue. But that seems to be working. So yeah, I think that must be something to do with the Zorro address space. If you know more about that, please post down below. I mean, I could research it if I get 5 minutes. I mean, imagine that being quite frustrating back in the day, that if you've got a card like this Supra that will accept 8 meg and you stick 6 meg on there and you've got 2 meg on your 2630, you can't do it. You've got to have 6 meg instead of 8. But that's worked, it's gone through one time now. And let's say if I switch, and if I'll show you, I'll set the jumper back to 8 meg. So you can see I've set the jumper back to 6 meg there now, so it's detecting the 2 meg on the A2630 and 6 meg on the Supra. So yeah, you would think that would work. That was my initial thoughts. I was like, well, I can get 8 meg in this, fantastic. No, I can't. It's very frustrating to say the least. I'm guessing the only way you could get 8 meg is to disable the RAM on the 2630. Yeah, disable the onboard 2 meg. You can see it's frozen there at the address I said. Can't move the cursor, frozen. And the reason I know it's not the RAM on the card, if there's a jumper on the 2630, let me just set that into position. That will now put it back in, it's 6 meg in total, but what's happened there, the Supra is 6 meg, the 2630 is 0. I've disabled the auto config side on the 2630, so you can see we're back to 6 meg. So this is testing all 6 meg on the Supra, just to rule out that there's 2 megabit that's bad, and there isn't. This will go round. I'll wait until it gets to round 2 point whatever, so you can see that it's done one complete pass. So I'm not sure there's any way around that. I think that's a limitation of Zorro 2, perhaps. But as I say, I could get another 2 meg for the Supra and disable the RAM on the 2630. That might be the easiest solution. There you go, I did the jump cut there just to wait for it to get to round 2, but you can see it's gone around the whole range, no problems at all. So yeah, it works, fantastic. It was described as untested, so yeah, I'm quite happy to see that it works actually. So the next thing is the TF534. So I've plugged that in, removed the CPU from here. You need to do that when you add a TF534. And I've got the Supra RAM set to 6 meg. So let's see what happens with that. Now bear in mind this is a stock 6.2 motherboard. It's had no mods at all. So it'll just be interesting to do a comparison on this, if it'll boot. Yeah, that's not booting, is it? I could try moving the Supra RAM further away from the CPU, but actually you need to have the RAM board as near to the CPU slot, the coprocessor slot, as possible, really. Yeah, and we've ruled out a number of things here. We know that this board works. It works with the 2630 and that RAM. So yeah, I think this is just incompatibility between the 534 and this Supra RAM board. So with the 534 on its own, it works. So the 534 does work on this, Rev 6.2 board. It just doesn't work with the Supra RAM board. I mean, I could try changing the jumpers there to reduce it from 6 meg to something else, but yeah, let's try that. Let's try and set it to 4. Well, I didn't go for 4, I went for 2. I don't know whether that's going to detect it or not. Oh, it has done. Yeah, 2 meg fast. Sorry, 6 meg fast. So that's the 4 plus the 2 from the Supra. And again, we might be in this situation like we were on the other one, where we can't go beyond 8 meg, but I thought the RAM on these TF534s was Zorro 3. Oh look, we've got an exception. So it's not working with that either. That's really annoying. So moving on to the Rev 4 board you saw me fix in an earlier video. We've stock CPU, I'll leave it in 6 meg, let's try it. Hopefully it'll be alright with the RAM. Yeah, 6 meg, so let's test that. I'm guessing it's going to be fine on there. This is, like I say, just stock, everything's stock. The thing you've got to remember with these systems is, I think from what I understand, the Zorro 2, while it's really clever, its manufacturers didn't really follow the specifications to the T. So that's my understanding anyway, I could be wrong. And obviously you've got board revision differences. That can be a factor with some things. I know some of the accelerators you need to make all the modifications in order to get stability. But I've got 3 different levels of things to test against here. A Rev 4 board which has been updated a little bit to maybe a 4.3 or 4.4. I've got a Rev 6.2 that's stock and a 6.2 that's fully modified up to whatever the last 6 Rev board was, presumably something like a 6.4. I don't know if they went beyond 6.4. Please post below if you know. Otherwise. But yeah, you can see that that's working alright. Assuming that works, I'll just move on to the next test. Yeah, so no problems there. So I've left this Supra in 6 meg, left the 2 meg enabled here. I'm thinking it's not going to work again. It's going to freeze when we get to 0.00000, whatever it is, because of the Zorro thing. I think we're going to have to reduce this to 4 meg, but let's just confirm that. Yeah, so memory, 8 meg. So it's doing the same as the 6.2, and I'm guessing, I think when we get to the same address range there, all the zeros, that's when I think it's going to freeze. I'll keep moving the cursor around so you can see it stop when it gets there. Well, the interesting thing, this is really confusing me actually. I don't know what you think, but I'm thinking that that's working, because as it moves on to the different stages there, it's gone round one past the address range. So that's really strange. Why would it only work on with a 4 meg on a 6.2, but it will work as 6 meg, and you get the full 8 meg on a Rev 4. I mean, it kind of suggests to me that maybe some of the older boards, if you're using an A2630 and using these Super RAM cards, you want a Rev 4 board, you don't want one of the newer ones for this sort of thing. Because I could stick this into my case now. I wouldn't do, because this hasn't got an 8375 Agnus, it's got the 1 meg, 8372A. The board I've got myself, I've upgraded, a 2 meg of chip, so that's the main reason I want to keep that board. And I thought that the newer boards might be better. Well, I'm sure they are for some things, but this is certainly seems to be an example of where a Rev 4 Amiga 2000 might be the thing you're looking for if you've got a Supra RAM board like this and you've got an A2630 or you want to get an A2630. And there are other things to factor in here. I don't know what revision of A2630 this is. There might be a better revision of it. There might be modifications I can do to the 2630. There might be modifications you can do to the Super RAM card. And coming back to the 6.2 boards, there might be things I need to consider doing to make those boards compatible. So for example, on the 6.2 of my own that I totally upgraded with all the factory mods, maybe I should revert them all. Maybe I should start reverting them and test at each stage to see what it is that breaks it, you know, so that it doesn't work at all on that board. But mind you, that's only with the Terrible Fire, so I think, yeah, I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with the Terrible Fire on these. But it's gone round one time there, you can see, past 2.1. So that's interesting, and that kind of shoots down the theory I pointed out earlier about not being able to add 6 meg once you've already got 2 meg. You can actually utilise all 8 meg in the Zorro 2 address space there. So I think this is the final test now. This is the superset to 6 meg and the Terrible Fire 534. I've had to remove the the CPU, but let's give that a try. I'm kind of expecting this to not work, but well, I don't know. When it's booted, doesn't it? We've seen it boot there. It's booting from floppy. You see, look, it's detected nothing. No fast RAM at all. Super annoying. So jumpers on the superset to 4 meg just to see if anything's detected. Again, nothing detected. I'll set it to 2 meg, see if that makes a difference. Yeah, that's really weird. When it's set to 2 meg, it's not doing anything. It's very strange. Quick review of this ZRAM 8 from Irix Labs, is it? Or Zirix Labs, I'm not sure what the first thing is there, but anyway, this is a brand new product. Bought this from amigastore.eu, I think. I'll stick it up there just in case I'm wrong. You can see it's got 2 jumpers on here. There's a little jumper table, so you can have 0 meg, 2 meg, 4 meg or 8 meg. So about £100-ish. So I thought I'd give this a go. In fact, you can see the website there. It is amigastore.eu. So I'll tell you straight away, there are some problems with this. There's nothing wrong with the card, it's not faulty, but there are some issues timing wise in terms of its compatibility with different boards and things like that. So the board I've got here that you've seen in this 2000, it's a Rev 6.2 that has been totally upgraded in terms of, I followed all of the Commodore documented modifications you need to do, changing the size of resistor packs, removing a resistor pack, I think, changing resistor sizes, all that sort of stuff. There's quite a lot of them. There's probably about 10 things or something I had to do to this board, and the board works perfectly with the Terrible Fire accelerator. It works fine with some other memory expansions and things I've got. The way this is modified now, the 6.2, is up to the, to bring it in line with the last of the 2000 motherboards. So we're using the standard CPU at the moment. I'm just going to plug the card in. Now, the first thing I would say is just watch this. It's super stiff to get in there, because it needs the edges shaving off a bit. You can see I could pretty much pick the whole system up on the weight of that. So you can imagine how hard that's going to be to get out now. So switch it on, and all being well, I think that should boot with a stock CPU. Oh no, look, defective already. There we go. So on this board with modifications, even with the stock CPU, defective. I don't know why I was expecting that to boot. I'm probably just getting confused because I spent so much time messing around testing this on different boards and different configurations. But as you can see, on a 6.2 upgraded to, I think what would be a 6.4, it just doesn't work, it comes up defective. And this is just with a stock 68,000, as you can see. Nothing else in any of the Zorro slots, just the RAM card there. So straight away, when they're saying we've tested it on various 2000s, no you haven't. And it isn't just this board. I've got 3 2000 boards here, and I can show you there are problems on different boards. So we're off the floor here. This is candidate number 2. This was donated by Tom Meads, and I fixed this. There'll be a separate video for this. You can see some damage occurred around here, but trust me, this board is 100%. Tested this with numerous Zorro cards. That CPU accelerator you just saw works okay in here. Doesn't work with the ZRAM, as you'll see. But if we just put the ZRAM in on its own, but if you put the ZRAM card into the first slot over here, again, super difficult to get in because the board is so wide. And if we switch it on, I think this will probably work. It's going to come up with the kickstart screen, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe it doesn't work on this one. I think this is the other one that doesn't work in. I might be wrong. Soon find out. There we go. Right, so no issues at that point. Now I'll connect a floppy drive and just test the RAM. So we booted sys test there. Got the mouse connector, and if we go into memory, woo, we've got 8 meg. So you think, okay, success. So let's just test the memory there. You can see this board has 1 meg of chip, and I'll just let that go around for 2 passes, I think. So a jump cut layer, it's only been going a minute or 2, you know, since I did the cut. But the main thing is it's working. It's not failing like it will do in a minute when I stick a 68030 Commodore accelerator in here. So this is not like a terrible fire, this is just a standard Commodore 68030 accelerator board. It's an A2630, I think it is. Again, this was a donation to the channel from a fantastic Australian chap. I'll cover that in another video as well. But if I switch that off, and with this particular accelerator, you don't need to remove the CPU. In fact, it won't boot, as you'll see in that video, without the CPU in there, the 68000. So we just need to carefully put that in the CPU slot. And again, like I said, this accelerator works. There's nothing wrong with that accelerator. And we boot up again. And I'm guessing this is probably a pretty common configuration. I'm pretty sure there's going to be quite a few people out there with an A2630. And if we test memory, so you can see straight away it's not detected any. Now there's a reason for that, it's the jumper. So I switch off. Remember I said you can't have 8 meg and the 2 meg that's on here. This provides 2 meg of fast. So what we can do is just remove the bottom jumper. I'll just pull it off. That'll put that in 4 meg mode. So with the 2 we've got on the accelerator, it should give us 6, okay? Following so far, make sure that's firmly in and power it back up. So here we go, booting again. The good thing is we don't get the error diagnostics at the boot there, you know, that red screen that says it's malfunctioning. And if we go into memory, you can see, oh, we've got 6 meg. It's picked up the 4, you know, we disabled half of it, but it has picked up 4, so we'll go ahead and test it. And you might think all's well, and I did, until I did this, and it was every single time. It's repeatable, and it's always, I think it's at the address range as soon as it goes into that ZRAM card, actually. And bear in mind, this is a stock 6.2. There are no other modifications have been done to this. There you go, it's the same error, it always occurs there at that point. So straight away, there is an incompatibility between the ZRAM on a 6.2 with an A2630. So yeah, tested my eye. This, you know, they might have tested it just on the board on its own, great. If you've got an A2000 and you've got nothing else in it, yeah, you can buy one of these ZRAM cards. Now I have contacted the company behind this, and I spoke to a nice guy there, Victor. You know, fair enough, I'm being a bit aggressive towards Victor here, I shouldn't be. Victor did say it's been tested thoroughly and it's okay. I beg to differ. I think, yeah, he's tested it on a 6.2 maybe, he's tested it on a 4. What he perhaps hasn't done, well, yeah, I'm sure he hasn't done, is test it with an A2630 on a 6.4 board or whatever the last rev of the 6 series was, or on a 6.2 that's been modded up to a 6.4. You can see the issue here. Anyway, I'll just test this on a Rev 4 board, and I think you'll see, I can't remember what the issue is with that. I think it works with certain things and not the other, but we'll have a look at Rev 4 board now. But anyway, yeah, if we just go into memory test, you can see that I've upgraded this in a previous video to 1 meg of chip. You know, and the existing 1 meg chip is okay. So I'll switch it off and plug the card into here. Again, I know that this board works perfectly because I've had various memory modules, processors in here. No problems at all. Switch it on. Memory, 4 meg, test okay. So as you can see, from that perspective, things are looking more promising. I mean, it's only put in the 4 meg mode at the moment, so I'll switch it into 8 meg in a sec. So on a Rev 4 board, it seems okay, actually. So, as I say, it seems to work okay on this Rev 4. I don't think there's any problems with that. I'll let that go through for a few minutes. If there's an error, I'll let you know, but I don't think so. This is the only combination, you know, the only system I've found really that it's okay with, really, for use on its own. I mean, we did get it working, I think, on one of the 6.2 boards there on its own, but it can't coexist with co-processors and stuff. So we've now got the A2630 there. Let's see what happens. You can see down there, can you see that 68030, so it's detecting that. And we've got a clash, obviously, like we did before, because it's got 2 meg on itself and the card is set to 8 meg, so I'll switch the card back to 4 meg. And it'd be just interesting to see, do we get the same memory error we had when, there you go, 6 meg, the same memory error we had on the Rev 6.2 board. There we go, same error. So yeah, it's not compatible with the A2630. Look at that now. Fast memory, none. Slow memory, none. So yeah, there's a clash there. So on a Rev 4 board with Kickstart 3.1, the Terrible Fire, there you go, it's booted. 1 meg chip, 4 meg fast. So let's now try it with the ZRAM. So this is with the ZRAM board. As you can see, it says defective. But like I say, I'm putting that down to an incompatibility between the TF534 and the ZRAM. I'm plugging in the A2630, switch it on, but and you can see there's 6 meg, but I'm guessing we're going to get that same error again. We're using Kickstart 3.1 here, by the way, as well on this Rev 4 board. Yeah, there you go. So it's not compatible with the A2630 at all. Certainly not for me. And as I say, that 2630 does work. I'll be selling this, I think, because I can't do anything with it. I mean, it's Xilinx. It's got a Xilinx chip on there. There's going to be a JTAG header up here. If the author wanted, if the author had thought ahead and actually engaged with me in conversation, he could have given me a firmware for this. We could have tried to tinker with it and see if we could get it working. But I don't think they're ever going to do that, because they obviously want to protect the code there. They don't want that leaking out. So at this point in time, until further testing is done by the developer and he resolves these issues, I would suggest that this is not a great RAM board to get. It might seem attractive at £100, giving you 8 meg there, with these jumpers to switch off and on, the size there. But yeah, for me, I'm not that impressed, to be honest. Yeah, so what did we learn about that? Well, maybe the SuperCard is not as bad as I'm making out, but it didn't work literally at all unless I put it on a Rev 4 board alongside, sort of stock products, really. It wouldn't work with anything else. And whilst I didn't cover it in the video, I did test it on a few other CPU cards before I sold it on, because it just wouldn't work alongside anything other than stock 68K. And it goes without saying, at the end of this short series here, if you want a Zorro 2 RAM board, get a Liv 2, gotta go faster, or build one yourself, even more fun. That board from Liv 2, I have tested against every single thing that comes my way, and it is solid. It doesn't matter about board revision, doesn't matter what CPU cards you've got, it just works. Anyway, I do hope you found the video interesting. If you'd like to support the channel, please see the Ko-fi and Patreon links down below. I'll catch you in the next video.